Hey guys,
How are you?
were you guys hanging around long?
A couple minutes.
Wow, I'm sorry. I kept looking for you, but it didn't pop up.
Why can
How's
I not
everyone?
hear anything?
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year to you too.
Okay.
It's cold here today. I can't wait to get in front of a fire after this.
All right, it's not too bad here actually.
It's
Well,
not?
It's not. It's like 40, which is like fine for. It's fine for Philadelphia in January. I'll take it all day.
I have no idea what it is here, but it's cold. I mean, I feel like I could put on a jacket and still be cold.
Really? Well, I was at the pool. I was swimming, and I went to the hot tub afterwards. So I got out of that. So maybe that's why I'm not too cold.
You are saying indoor pool, right?
Yeah, of course. Although when I was at Penn State, we swam outside in the snow because they rented out the indoor pool until October 15th. So we had to swim outside, and one year it snowed on October 2nd, and so we were swimming outside in the snow. And the pool is actually warm, but getting out of the pool is just a nightmare.
Jeez, I don't know about that, guys. It is just a little too insane. I have jumped in the lake in Minnesota once in the winter, just to say I did it. But I will never do that again. So.
I don't even know if I want to go to Minnesota again. Period.
Yeah, it's in the snow. It's too cold for me. But anyway, so this is exciting. We're done with all of the football stuff. Now the playoffs, right?
Yeah, the playoffs, and there are some contests on DraftKings. Of course, is $1 million to first. So hopefully we can win that this week. That'd be nice.
Yeah, DraftKings. Let's see. Let's pull that up. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, everything reset on my computer this week for whatever stupid reason. I have to log everything back in. Must be the new year stuff. But no, it's exciting. So there's some $1 million games, $1 million lineups.
Yeah, $1 million to first, as usual. Yeah. So I thought we could build the lineup on the show. I thought that'd be cool, and I thought that I could kind of show people how to build an optimal lineup, or have a computer build an optimal lineup for you. So I thought that'd be interesting as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm gonna give the screen over to you, so that you can do this.
Okay. Let me see here. To share a screen first.
I gotta unshare. There we go. It's great seeing you guys.
indeed.
You too? Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me.
Michael, you look like you've got a little sunshine on you.
Oh, that's an improvement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you get it?
It's lagging a bit.
Okay. So I've released it. It should be free.
Yeah, I didn't see it on my application window, so I had to close a couple windows. So that's what I'm doing right now. But I hit cancel, and it's not doing anything.
God. Still not working?
No. You know what? I'm gonna exit out and then come back in. I think. Okay,
We'll
I'll be right back.
in a minute.
Okay.
You're in a good mood. No?
Faking.
Oh, it's a new year. We've got all kinds of things to look forward to. As soon as he comes back, I'll add him. There we go.
There we go. All right, I'm going to try now. Should work now.
Okay.
All right. Testing. Yay, I got rid of the did not get rid of the feedback. Walter, usually your stuff works faster than mine.
Yeah, I don't know. It's this window's not showing up on the application window spot.
Oh, so do full screen. They changed something on since the last time I used it. So instead of picking the application window, I had to pick full screen.
Okay, hold on.
So it should be, hold on. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, just click your entire screen. And what's going to happen is you're just not going to see us anymore, but you're going to see everything that we see. But application window wasn't working for me today either.
Wow.
Technology. I give this speech all the time. You have the right to remain silent.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you say here will be obsolete tomorrow. It's at the technology events. Oh, God. But I don't know why I'm getting feedback. And I don't know why you can't share.
I think I'll be able to do it in 1 second.
Okay. Michael, can you talk just so I can hear you?
Yeah. How are we doing?
You're sounding great this week. What did you do different?
Nothing.
Weird. Last week was unusual.
It was annoying.
Okay.
There you go. Yay!
Okay. Yeah, I think this is the right one there. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, there it is. All right. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I think we have everything.
I think we got everything.
Okay. Okay. Are we gonna go live? Or are we live already?
We are live.
Oh,
We've been live. We'll chat later.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, welcome to the WalterFootball.com Fantasy Football Show. This is the Week 18 edition. Obviously, the year-long leagues have ended, but there are still $1 million prizes on DFS sites. So hopefully we can help you win some money this week on fantasy football. So joined once again by Michael Hofer. Michael, how was your Week 17 and Happy New Year?
Well, I won my championship game, although it looked like I was doing great in the beginning with Jameis and Brashard Perryman, but then Jameis checked out in the second half, and the game actually got close for a while. But I managed to prevail. I'm very happy about that. Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you. Yeah, Jameis Winston was not 100% healthy, so was a little dubious about his situation. And then he threw the pick six at the end. That was a shame. It was kind of epitomized his season where he had glimpses of brilliance, and then he had these horrible moments. So I believe that they're going to bring him back for another year, but we'll see. I don't think it's set in stone yet, but I think they're leaning toward doing that. Also joined by Kim Calhoun. Kim, Happy New Year, and how are you?
Oh, Happy New Year, Michael and Walter. Yes, thank you, Walter. I'm doing great and looking forward to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And the $1 million picks. I can't wait to learn how to do this.
All right. Well, hopefully that pans out this week. So before we begin with DFS, Michael, I don't know if you wanted to talk about anything specifically at this moment.
I'm just wondering what Jerry Jones is going to do with Jason Garrett. That's very peculiar. It looks like he's going to keep him now.
I think I think he wants to keep him, but he might sense some pressure about firing him. I don't know. I don't know. I think Jerry's kind of biding his time to see if he can get a good replacement for Jason Garrett. But I don't know if I feel like at this point anyone would be a good replacement. But
yeah,
I don't know what Jerry's looking for specifically. Do you have anyone in mind?
Well, Urban Meyer would be great.
You think so? I don't think Urban Meyer would be a good hire. Like he's never coached in the NFL. And the fact, like he always benefited from paying his players at Ohio State and Florida, but now he'll be on even ground with everyone else. So I don't know if he's going to have an advantage in the NFL.
Well, he's won everywhere he's gone. He's been a good leader of men, but he's got some character flaws. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and so some health stuff as well. And
he lies about that.
Yeah, I guess so. I suppose so, but I guess you never know. But I just don't know with him. He's never coached in the NFL, so I think that's problematic for me. I mean, everyone thought Steve Spurrier was a great hire, and then he was terrible. Everyone thought that Chip Kelly was a great hire, and he was terrible. I felt the same way about Cliff Kingsbury, and I think the Cardinals would have been better this year. I like Kyler Murray a lot, but I think they would have been better with a better coach than Kingsbury. But any other news standing out before we dive into daily fantasy?
Well, I'm curious.
It sounds like a couple of coaches. Are they just kind of it's time to get rid of the coaches this year, or are we just recycle? Is it? I mean, I heard word about Ron Rivera from the Panthers. Is there anything about that?
Yeah, Ron Rivera was hired by the Redskins a couple of days ago. So I thought that was a good hire. Rivera kind of brings kind of like an authoritative voice to the locker room. And I thought that's something that the Redskins have been lacking over the past few seasons. Jay Gruden, not really a good leader in that regard. And I think the players were a little aloof under him. So I think that change and having a strong voice in the locker room. Also, they hired Jack Del Rio for the defense coordinator position. It's kind of the same thing, kind of like a strong voice who's had a lot of experience in the NFL. So I thought that was a good hire by the Redskins. So it's kind of happy that they seem to be going in the right direction, although you never know with them.
Yeah, I'm surprised Rivera settled for that because he could have had any job he wanted.
Yeah, I think so. The Redskins have a lot of young talent, though. Like, guys that they've drafted beyond the first round. Like, they have Darius Geis, Terry McLaurin, Steven Sims, Kelvin Harmon. Like, these guys have showed well, at least on offense. And then on defense, you have Quentin Dunbar. You have a bunch of guys on the defensive line from Alabama. They're very talented as well. We'll see if Reuben Foster can come back from injury. That's unknown. But they have a lot of talent. I think people forget that they were 6-2 a couple years ago. Before Alex Smith suffered the horrible leg injury, and they've kind of been in a tailspin since. But Dwayne Haskins looked good in the final couple of games he played in 2019 after a slow start. So, if I'm Rivera, I'm thinking like, if I build a winner with Washington, I'll be kind of heralded as a hero, really, because the Redskins haven't won in a very long time.
Indeed.
Yeah. So a couple of other moves that have happened, I think worth discussing. The Browns fired GM John Dorsey. I thought a little premature. The Jaguars retained Doug Marrone, which I thought was very bizarre because the Jaguars stopped trying in the final couple months of the season. The Dolphins fired Chad O'Shea, the offensive coordinator, and replaced him with Chan Gailey, which I was very confused about. I thought Chad O'Shea did a tremendous job. I think any team would be lucky to have him. The Giants fired Pat Shurmur, so that was kind of expected, and so was the Browns firing Freddie Kitchens. I think out of all the coaches who were fired, I thought Kitchens was the most obvious to be let go. He was just awful.
So he was let go of this week as well, right?
Yeah, all those guys. Yeah, several coaches let go. Shurmur and Kitchens were expected, and we still think Jason Garrett will probably be let go, but I don't think it's a certainty at the moment. I think Jerry Jones wants someone specific, and maybe a couple people specifically. And if he doesn't get them, he might think about retaining Jason Garrett, as crazy as it seems. Jason Garrett has been an abysmal head coach for a very long time. I thought they should have fired him after, I believe, like 2014 or 2015, and he's been lingering around ever since. It's amazing that the Cowboys not every single week, but most weeks they seem unprepared for their opponent. They constantly make mistakes. They never fix things. They always underachieve. And yet this guy's been coaching for a decade for them. It's unbelievable, I think.
It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah. I got a question, though. Is it common to get rid of all of these coaches right before the playoffs? Is that common?
Black Monday every year. The guys who don't make the playoffs, they get axed on Monday. Every year. Every year.
So if you don't make the playoffs, odds are you're looking for a job.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, I think the recipe for being fired is high expectations and low results. We saw with the Browns. Freddie Kitchens is only around for 1 year with the Browns, and they had sky high expectations because people thought they were going to be good for some reason, and they weren't. They finished with a bad record, and then Freddie Kitchens was like, oh. So that typically tends to happen. Whereas if a team that's expected to be bad does poorly, the coach is probably not going to get fired. Like example this year, Matt Patricia with the Lions. They went 3-12-1, horrible record, but no one expected them to do well. So he kept his job, and I think if he has another bad year next year, he'll probably be let go. But considering the high number of injuries the Lions had, it makes sense to keep Patricia. So you have examples like that, but generally, if there are high expectations and bad results, there's almost always going to be a firing, unless you're in Dallas.
Wow, unless you're in Dallas.
Yeah,
and just when it looked like Ryan Fitzpatrick could go out beating the Patriots. They hired Chan Gailey as a history, so it's like they want to continue with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he's done quite well this year, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Fitzpatrick's going to be the quarterback next year. They can't draft Joe Burrow from LSU, the quarterback from LSU. He's going to be the first overall pick. He's going to go to Cincinnati unless he says he doesn't want to go to Cincinnati specifically, kind of like Eli Manning did with the Chargers. Yeah, exactly. Like that'll happen from time to time. But I expect Burrow to go to Cincinnati. And then the other quarterback options, you have Justin Herbert, who's kind of had a down year compared to 2018. And then the Tua Tagovailoa, who would have been the first overall pick. He suffered that gruesome injury. So I think that, I think Miami is targeting him. But he can't play next year. So I think what the Dolphins are thinking is that they're going to bring back Fitzpatrick for one more year, have him start, and then when Tagovailoa is ready, he's going to play. So I guess like from that perspective, like it makes sense to bring in Chan Gailey, except Fitzpatrick played poorly under Chan Gailey in 2016, whereas he played well under Chad O'Shea this past season. So I thought that was very confusing. There has to be something going on. There had to be some sort of feud going on. Maybe Brian Flores and Chad O'Shea just didn't get along, and they thought they had to part ways. Like that's the only thing I could think of, because Chad O'Shea, I thought he did a phenomenal job in Miami, like getting the most out of Devontae Parker, and Albert Wilson and Preston Williams before he got injured. Ryan Fitzpatrick just had his best year under O'Shea. So. If I need a coordinator, I'm definitely hiring O'Shea. I think he's one of the best offensive guys on the market.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting how often Belichick has lost to guys who work for him, too. It's like they know what he's doing, and that's going to be happening in the playoffs this week. Yeah,
absolutely. But we'll see. We'll see if that happens again. I don't know how often it's happened in the playoffs. Generally, I mean, he's beaten Bill O'Brien in the playoffs. O'Brien has beaten him this year in the regular season. So I don't know. I think I'm pretty confident in the Patriots this week. I think they match up well against the Titans. Yeah, I think the Titans and the Bills are very similar, and the Patriots dominated the Bills a couple weeks ago. So I think they should be able to handle Tennessee pretty easily. I think that's kind of the game I'm most confident in terms of the spread. I think the Patriots should cover pretty easily. But we'll see. Anything can happen, I guess. So let's go into the DFS portion of the show. So I wanted to review what happened in Week 17. This is the $1 million lineup from Week 17. John Fennelly, I believe, was I guess that's how you pronounce it. He was the winner, and his quarterback was Dak Prescott. And I wanted to highlight this lineup because he paired Dak Prescott with Ezekiel Elliott and Michael Gallup, and that's kind of what I've been talking about. With DFS, I think if you play a quarterback, you have to pair him with two of his targets. So generally, a quarterback, running back have some negative correlation, but Elliott was going to catch some passes. As you can see, he caught 3 passes. He caught a receiving touchdown. So that was the Prescott to Elliott passing touchdown. Did very well for John Fennelly. And also Michael Gallup had a huge game. And also he ran it back with Steven Sims Jr. So he kind of stacked the game, the 3-by-1 stack. And Steven Sims was a very cheap option. I loved Steven Sims last week. So Steven Sims allowed him to get to, Derrick Henry, Damian Williams, Golden Tate, Tyler Higbee, and then the Bears defense. So it's a very good lineup by John Fennelly. I don't know if he placed otherwise. We can look. No, this is only lineup in the top 500, but great lineup for sure. Prescott was someone I was considering last week, but I kind of shied away because he was banged up. But I guess you want to buy on bad news, and that's exactly what John did. So congratulations on the 1 million, and let's hope we can duplicate this guy's success. So with that in mind, I have this open. So it's 1 million the first. Let's look at the full details. So second gets 100,000, third 40,000. So if you want to, I want to hear you guys' opinion on this. If you want a game stack, where are you looking? What do you think the highest scoring game is going to be this week?
Well, there's no doubt it's going to be Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, and I don't know how you go contrarian to that. A lot of people are going to have that.
A lot of people will have that. That's for sure. But you can go contrarian elsewhere. You can leave money on the table
with someone who you might think is going to be a high receiver or something like that, right?
That's the idea.
Yeah. So if we want to build a lineup with Brees and Michael Thomas, so let's start that. Michael Thomas is my favorite player on the slate. I imagine he's everyone's highest ranked player, but he's 9,300 too. So there is a cost to this. Wow. And I think you want to pair Brees with another Saint. So I don't know if it's Alvin Kamara, who's 7,400. Then there's Ted Ginn. Let's type him in so I don't have to look. Ted Ginn is 3,600. You have Jared Cook, who's 4,900. Maybe even Traquan Smith, who's 4,000. Actually, it's odd that Traquan's higher than Ted Ginn. Michael, any thoughts on a second player to pair with Drew Brees?
I'm down with Ted Ginn.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good one. I mean, he's pretty cheap. It's 3,600. That'll allow us to get to other players. And looking at Ted Ginn's game log, you see that like 2.0 points, 2.3 points. He hasn't done anything in a while. And I think for a player who hasn't done anything in a while, he might be due for success. And even if he's not, I don't necessarily buy into that logic. But the fact that he hasn't done anything in a while means that people may not play him. And so you're talking about how to get contrarian. I think putting Ted Ginn with Drew Brees is certainly a way to get contrarian. So we want to run this back with at least one player. I think it's even good to run it back with 2 players on Minnesota because the thinking behind that is if the Saints blow out the Vikings, Drew Brees is not going to be throwing a lot in the second half. And therefore, you're not going to get points. You're not going to get as many points with Drew Brees as you normally could. But if this game is close and it's a shootout, Drew Brees is going to have to throwing the ball in the second half. Think about the 49ers game from a few weeks ago. Drew Brees was throwing a ton, and I think that was his best game of the season if we look at the stats. So the past couple of weeks, he scored 22, 22, 31, and then that 49ers game, he scored 43. So if you pair Drew Brees with a couple of his players and a couple 49ers, you had a great chance to win the $1 million prize. So I think you almost have to go to 2 Minnesota players. So let's look at the Minnesota players. We have Dalvin Cook at 7,800, Stephon Diggs at 6,600, Adam Thielen 6,200. Alexander Madison at 48, go down to Olabisi Johnson 35, and then we have the tight ends Kyle Rudolph at 35, and Irv Smith Jr. buried at 27. So Michael, if you're looking at 2 Vikings, What are you thinking?
Well, Cook's supposed to play, right?
Yeah, he doesn't have a designation here, so I believe he's been limited in practice, but I think he's clear. I don't think he's on the injury report.
Yeah, you have to go with Cook or Diggs because Thielen still doesn't seem to be right, and I'm not too fond with Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, neither am I. So, all right, let's go with Cook and Diggs and see what we can do with the rest of our lineup. So we only have an average of 4,000 left, but the defense will solve that. The defense is pretty cheap. Any lean toward the any defense here? So the Patriots are the most expensive, as they usually are.
The Saints don't they have a pretty good defense?
Well, we're pairing the Saints with the Vikings, so we're expecting a shootout in this. So we don't want to pair the Saints. I know there's a famous DFS player named Laz Gets Fit who always pairs his offense with his defense, and it sometimes works out for him. But I don't know. I don't think I want to go that route.
Okay. No, I was looking at some reviews today. So,
but I do think you're right. I like the Saints defense a lot. I think they're one of the best plays this week on defense this week. But in this kind of game stack, it doesn't really correlate well to go with the Saints. Yeah.
Got it. Again, we're learning game stacks, not overall team playing. So,
exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So, what about the Titans?
Yeah, so the Titans are going against the Patriots. I think historically playing against Tom Brady has not been ideal, but Tom Brady hasn't been himself lately. I do think Tom Brady rebounds, but defenses are very high variant. Yep. All you need is a fumble and return it for a touchdown, and Tom Brady doesn't even have to do that. It could be one of his special teamers. It could be one of his peripheral players. So I'm down with playing Tennessee. Michael, any thoughts on the defense?
Totally agree with Tennessee.
Okay, yeah, let's go Tennessee then. So that means we have 4,500 left for a running back, a tight end, and a flex. And I think we can go cheap at tight end as well. So Zach Ertz is the top tight end at 6,000, but he may not play. Dallas Goedert at 5,200 is next. I love Goddard if Zach Ertz is out. Obviously, it seems like a very, very logical option. But if we go cheap, we have Jonnu Smith at 3,800. We have Dawson Knox at 29. We have Irv Smith, I mentioned earlier, at 27. Even Ben Watson at 27. There are a bunch of guys here. Anyone stand out at all?
I like Dawson Knox.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely go for Dawson Knox at 2,900. He doesn't even need to do that much.
Right.
If he catches 3 passes for 50 yards, like that'll pay off his price tag. So, yeah, I like Dawson Knox. And now we have 5,400 left per player, so we can go to running back or receiver. I don't know what you wanted to look at first. Derrick Henry is the highest running back remaining. Well, overall at 8,200. Then we have Kamara 7,400. Miles Sanders, Devin Singletary, Boston Scott priced up at 5,800. James White, Travis Homer, 53. Marshawn Lynch, 52. So we can go down even. We have a Sony Michel, 46. Rex Burkhead, 45. Duke Johnson, 44. Anyone stand out at all? I don't think we want to go down this far. There's no.
Yeah, we're in
How
trouble.
about Singletary?
Yeah, Devin Singletary. Yeah, I mean, I'm down for playing Singletary. I think he's a decent option.
He's a little high though for what we have left, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, we could always try it. We can always X out. So if we go Singletary, we have 4,800 left for a flex. So the best player we can get according to the salary is Alexander Mattison at 4,800, which I would not want to do based on we already have 2 Vikings, so it doesn't make sense. Then we have Kenny Stills at 46 and Sony Michel 46. So those are the best ones available at the flex. So we can X out of Singletary if you want and see if we can get anyone better.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. All right. So
who would you go for?
I like James White. I like Travis Homer. I would be down to play a Rex Burkhead. If he scores a touchdown, that's great. kind of have to swing for the fences here and kind of go with a logical play sometime. As you can see, there are 105,000 people who are going to be in this contest. So you have to go contrarian.
Homer, he's, playing with Russell Wilson. So certainly he's going to I don't know.
Yeah, Travis Homer
is pretty stout against the run, though.
That's the thing, though. Is like Philadelphia has a great run defense, but Philadelphia's not that good against pass catching running backs. And Travis Homer, the past couple of weeks, he's seen 8 targets and then 5 targets. So if he catches 5 passes and maybe finds his way into the end zone somehow, that'll get you there. So I don't know if you want to go with him or maybe someone else. There's Carlos Hyde. Not crazy about him. Latavius Murray. I like Murray this week actually, but not in this lineup because we already have 3 Saints. So we have Sony. Like I said, Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead, not Dion Lewis, Duke Johnson, maybe worth a shot.
How much is Murray?
Latavius Murray's 5,000.
Oh, he costs too much.
Yeah, I kind of like Murray this week. I think if the Saints blow out the Vikings, I think the Saints could have I think Murray could have a good workload in the second half.
I like what you said about James White, though.
Yeah, all right. Let's go with James White. I mean, he's Mr. Playoff for the Patriots.
Yeah, he definitely is. No doubt about that.
James, yeah.
Okay, so at 5,100, we have Carlos Hyde and Will Fuller and Jared Cook available now. So I don't know if any of those stand out as good plays.
Is Will Fuller healthy?
That we don't know. But here's the thing: is if people are asking that question, and they may not play Will Fuller because of that, Will Fuller might be low owned, and therefore we might get some leverage there.
That's right. You won a lot of money on him before.
I definitely did. Okay, I like the sign-up. I think it has a good chance of.
Will Fuller.
Yeah, Will Fuller in the flex. So actually, we want to reorder this to get the latest player, actually the most expensive player. So here's the thing. Here's what I would do. I would put Will Fuller at receiver and Michael Thomas in the flex, and I'll explain why in a second. So generally, you want to have the guy in the latest game in the flex because that'll allow you to make more changes that way. So, and plus Michael Thomas is the most expensive player. So let's just say, for example, let's just say Will Fuller plays and then Michael Thomas, suffers a freak injury in warmups, which could happen. It's definitely happened before. If we had Michael Thomas at receiver, we would only be limited to the receivers. So we'd have to go with in the last 2 games, we would have to go with let's see. Let's just run this as an example. Adam Thielen would be our next option at 6,200. Whereas if we had him in the flex, we could suddenly put Alvin Kamara there. So that's a good example of why you should put the most expensive players in the flex and B, the players who are going to play latest in the flex.
That's brilliant.
And if we didn't want to go to Kamara, we can go to Tyler Lockett in the flex as well. So that is the reason why you should always play your latest and most expensive players in the flex.
Do you still think Tyler Lockett is the main receiver there, or do you think Metcalf has taken over as Wilson's favorite target?
I would still say Lockett. I think it's Lockett. We can look at that, but he was injured for a while. That's why he struggled. In this stretch where he got 6 targets, 3, 2, 4. He was injured, and Pete Carroll even said it. But then before the Carolina game, I remember Pete Carroll saying Tyler is finally healthy. So that kind of stood out to me. And ever since that game, he saw 9 targets and 7 and then 7. But the first time he played the Eagles, first of all, he was hurt, and second, the Eagles double teamed him at almost every opportunity. So I don't like Lockett very much this week, but he is definitely viable, and he's a great player, and he could definitely win a tournament. So, all right. So if you guys are fine with this, I'm definitely okay to submit this lineup. So to recap, we had Drew Brees, a quarterback, running back Dalvin Cook, running back James White, wide receiver Will Fuller, wide receiver Ted Ginn, wide receiver Stephon Diggs, tight end Dawson Knox, flex Michael Thomas, and then defense is the Titans.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah. I look forward to spending the $1 million prize with you guys.
Yeah, you're gonna buy dinner, right?
Yeah. We'll be together in Miami, and we'll have to go crazy on the town. So that'll be nice. So that is our lineup for this week on DraftKings. But as I said before, I was going to show you guys how to do this much quicker. So if you go to this window here, this is called Fantasy Cruncher. And it's a service. Granted, you have to pay for it, but I think it's been very valuable to me, especially in the NBA. So while it loads, you'll see the projections pop up soon. What this does is it creates optimal lineups for you based on your projections, and you can create groups and stuff like that. I don't know why it shouldn't be taking this long to load. Let me refresh it.
So you're the Fantasy Cruncher.
Yeah, fantasy. There we go. So you enter in your projections here. You can upload your CSV or just enter it manually if you want. So this will create the optimal lineup just based on your projections, and you can make rules and stuff. If you go to advanced options, they have lots of stuff. You can stack. You can add groups. Let me load all of my groups. Okay. So before we do this, I wanted to kind of make the optimal lineup, and you could guys let's see how we did in comparison to what we built. I think that would be interesting. So I'll explain what I'm doing right now in a second. But I wanted to build the optimal lineup. I don't know what that is. That's disappointing. It didn't load everything. All right. So let's this is not ideal. Okay. All right. So calculate one lineup using my projections. All right, there we go. So it says the optimal lineup just based on my projections alone. Carson Wentz at quarterback, Alvin Kamara at running back, Miles Sanders running back, Jacoby Myers wide receiver, Mohamed Sanu wide receiver, Michael Thomas wide receiver, Dallas Goedert tight end, Zach Ertz tight end, and Texans defense.
Heavy Seattle, a little bit of Tennessee. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I think I wanted to go 5.1, so that's not technically correct. So let me do another one. This will look a lot different. All right. So here is Carson Wentz at quarterback, Devin Singletary running back, Alvin Kamara running back, Cole Beasley and John Brown wide receivers, Greg Ward wide receiver, Dallas Goedert tight end, Zach Ertz tight end, and then Titans defense. So we got the Titans defense correct. So that doesn't mean that this is the correct lineup to use. It's based on like how optimal it is compared to everything else. If you notice, there's not a game stack here. It's not running it back with Seattle players. So what you can do is you can go to advanced options. You can go to groups, and so I have something called Wentz teammates. So what I like to do is I like to pair Wentz with at least two of his teammates, and we can type in like Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, which it kind of did already by accident, which I thought was interesting. Dallas Goedert, and then Greg Ward. Okay. And so here's the other end of it, Wentz opponents. So I like to pair Wentz with at least two of Tyler Lockett, Travis Homer, Marshawn Lynch, DK Metcalf, or Jacob Hollister. So if we enable all these groups, it'll look a lot different. So that's basically what I do during the week is I try to figure out which players I want to pair with my quarterbacks. And so I use a certain number of quarterbacks, and that'll give me a lineup that's highly correlative with the quarterbacks. For some reason, it didn't transfer over Deshaun Watson for some reason. So I'm going to do that for a second. So Deshaun Watson, pair him with at least two of, I think, Duke Johnson, Hopkins, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills, Darren Fells. Okay. And we'll enable this group. All right. So now we have everything stacked. So let's see what happens. So there we go. It decided to stack the Buffalo Houston game. So it gave us Deshaun Watson throwing it to Will Fuller and Darren Fells, as running it back with Devin Singletary and John Brown. So thinking here is if the Buffalo Houston game turns into a shootout, this lineup will hit. And Michael, you're talking about before how everyone's going to have Drew Brees and throwing it to Michael Thomas. I think way fewer people are going to have Deshaun Watson throwing it to Will Fuller and Darren Fells, running it back with John Brown and Devin Singletary. Obviously, this doesn't look right. I think you might agree that it seems better to have Brees and Michael Thomas. But if you're in a tournament with 105,000 people, you have to differentiate yourself. And I think this looks viable. If the Houston Buffalo game is a 34-31 thriller that no one sees coming, this lineup could win the whole thing. And going, with the cheaper options, Will Fuller and Darren Fells, that allows us to get to Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, and then the Saints defense, which Kim, you were talking about earlier. So this is another way to do it. I think Fantasy Cruncher is a great tool. Like I said, it costs money, which is obviously not ideal, but there are weekly packages you can try for 1 week. It's been great for me. I absolutely love it. It's great in the NBA. Because there's so many players, especially baseball too. It's great in baseball. So that's
you do this with the MLB as well.
MLB, NBA, yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So out of curiosity, I want to see what happens when we run a crunch with another team. So here's a no, this is not correct. Let me. I think what happened was my Breeze opponents were wrong. I entered that correctly. Yeah, see, I entered for some reason. I was very tired last night. I entered the Seattle players as Breeze's opponents. So let me fix that very quickly. So Dalvin Cook, Diggs, Thielen, Rudolph, and Irv Smith. Okay, now it won't give us that nonsense. All right, so if we run another lineup, it's still Deshaun Watson. That's kind of weird.
Wow.
Oh, no, wait, no, I did that incorrectly. Okay, now let's run around another lineup. Okay, it's weird. It still gives us Deshaun Watson if we do a second lineup, which, okay, I see why, because you have to go to 3 uniques. Yeah, okay, now it'll be different, I can guarantee, or maybe not. It'll be different eventually.
It's favoring Deshaun Watson.
There we go. Now it gave us Josh Allen throwing it to Cole Beasley and John Brown, running it back with Duke Johnson, Darren Fells, and still Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas. So you can keep going. There's the Tom Brady lineup with James White, Julian Edelman, running it back with Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, with Devin Singletary, Michael Thomas, Zach Ertz, and Buffalo defense. So yeah, you can build as many lineups as you want. You can enter in 150 lineups and it'll start building it for you. It's kind of crazy how it just does this. It'll build as many lineups as you want, and then you can just kind of scroll through and see what you like. Yeah. You can see right here we have a Seattle stack with Russell Wilson throwing it to Travis Homer and Jacob Hollister, running it back with Greg Ward and Dallas Goedert. And you still have enough money to get Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, and Texans defense, but you have to sacrifice with Mohamed Sanu, unfortunately.
The money's down at the bottom. How much are you spending?
Yeah, so right here it says 50,000. Yeah, so you could set it. You could set a rule to say I only want to spend 49,000, and you could see what happens. You can do that in advanced options. So we have what I set it to 3 unique players, max salary, min salary. You can decide what's in the flex. Offensive versus defense. So I usually do 1. You could set randomness, which will give you just kind of off the wall lineups if you want, and then max number per teams. So this is I think this is a really cool thing. So as you can see, we're already up to 85. So let's stop it at 86. So it tells us how many players we got from each lineup. So it looks like we had 26 lineups with Deshaun Watson. 23 with Russell Wilson, 22 with Josh Allen, 9 with Tom Brady, 5 with Drew Brees, 1 with Carson Wentz. So we had no Tannehill and no Cousins. So that kind of tells me that I would want a Tannehill or a Cousins lineup. It's because it's very contrarian. So we can do that with running back as well. Alvin Kamara is 62% of our lineup.
Try Cousins or try one of those and just see who they pair them up with.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that here with the lock button. So I can go to Kirk Cousins, lock him in, and we can make one lineup and see what happens.
Because like you said, that's going to be very contrary to what everyone else is going to do, which means more money for you if you win, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, here it gave us Kirk Cousins throwing to Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph, running it back with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. So, I think this makes a lot of sense. I don't like Kirk Cousins this week from a real game perspective. I think there's a good chance the Vikings get blown out, but I do think there's a good chance that the Vikings throw a lot because they're trailing by a lot. And, garbage time counts as much as regular time fantasy stats. So Kirk Cousins could throw a lot in the second half and get you there in the tournament. So
I paired him up with who? Let's see.
Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
so your flex is Kyle. Is that how you would do it? Is that how you would stack it?
I mean, obviously, I would think that stacking with Thielen and Diggs makes the most sense. But Kyle Rudolph could catch the touchdown or two. Like, it could happen. So I think if you ran this a few times, you'd probably get a Thielen and a Diggs eventually. So here's a Diggs and a Rudolph. So it'll eventually give you a Diggs and a Thielen lineup, and then you could even force it. You could say, let's lock in Diggs and Thielen, and let's make a new lineup. Let's see what that looks like. Here's Cousins throwing it to Thielen and Diggs, running back with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. This is a very expensive stack. All these guys are expensive. So if you look at some of the other players, like that's why we have two bad tight ends down here. We have Dawson Knox and Darren Fells, just because we didn't have that much money left to spend. And then Devin Singletary is a decent option there. So I mean that's a Cousins lineup. Let's see what happens if we go with Tannehill.
I like the idea of AJ Brown. It'll be interesting to see how he does against Gilmore.
Yeah, I don't. It's not going to give us AJ Brown because he's so expensive. But he actually, I forgot to unlock those guys. All right, here we go. So this is
even with Tannehill, it's expensive.
Tannehill is more expensive than Kirk Cousins.
Wow,
it should be.
Yeah, well, let's look at the pricing. Tannehill is the fifth most expensive quarterback this week, 100 less than Deshaun Watson. Wow. So that's why he's not going to show. That's why he didn't show up in our stacks, because I have Deshaun Watson projected for 21 points and Tannehill for 16. So Tannehill is never going to show up in a stack. So you kind of have to force him in. But I don't think that's a bad thing to do because you want to be contrarian. So this is the optimal lineup with Tannehill stack. Tannehill throwing it to Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, running it back with James White and Julian Edelman, and then we have money for Michael Thomas, Zach Ertz, and Devin Singletary. So, if I imagine that you want AJ Brown at some point, and it will give us AJ Brown if we run enough lineups. We could even force him, and let's see if he gets there eventually. He does not. He does not because he's so expensive. So we have to force him in. All right. So here's the lineup with Tannehill and AJ Brown. Tannehill with AJ Brown, Jonnu Smith, running it back with Mohamed Sanu and Julian Edelman. See, that's what we sacrificed. Before we had James White and Julian Edelman, and now we have Sanu and Edelman. That's the price we paid with AJ Brown. But we still have money for Alvin Kamara, no Michael Thomas, as you might notice, and Zach Ertz. So yeah, I mean you have to pay the price if you go expensive. AJ Brown is 7,400 this week.
Wow,
he's that is a lot of money. He's only 300 less than DeAndre Hopkins, and he's more expensive than Tyler Lockett. So
and Belichick usually takes away your best weapon.
Exactly.
And he's not going to take away Derrick Henry, I don't think. So
no, I don't think so either. I mean, AJ Brown has to go against Stephon Gilmore this week, and that's going to be tough. So I would shy away from AJ Brown, but then again, that might mean if you look here's another reason to get Fantasy Cruncher. It gives us ownership projections. So AJ Brown is projected for 10.7% ownership on DraftKings, whereas Michael Thomas, Michael Thomas is projected for 46.8% ownership.
So this
This is like the tech toy of Christmas, huh?
It really is. I first got this in July when baseball was going on. And I was excited to try for basketball and football. And I've recommended it to everyone who plays on DFS. So
well, it seems like it breaks down your because the hardest part I have is when I start adding up how much money I'm spending, how much I have left, and who am I going to pick. And a lot of times I'll go back and I'll cut, restart, trying to get the players I want. And I spend a long time doing that. And this just does it for you, like in seconds.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the beauty of it is that you don't have to enter this into DraftKings. You can just export to CSV and then upload on DraftKings, and then it's in.
Oh, really?
So it's very easy. Yeah. So like I said, I recommend it to everyone. I'm not affiliated with them at all. Like I said, it does cost money. But if you play, if you enter in a lot of lineups each week, this is something I would highly recommend. It's like I said, it's terrific software. I think it's the best optimizer out there. So I like it a lot. So, all right. You want to
see why? Because your job, especially if this is something that you really enjoy doing, your job is done for you really fast. I mean, you still have to think about who you want. And I watch you. You go, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. So you already know ahead what it should look like.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, this is like I said, this is terrific software, but it comes down to your projections. Your projections have to be correct, and like this just gives you the most optimal lineup based on your projections and your group settings. Right. So these projections right here, this column, if this is wrong, then I'm not going to win money on DraftKings. Like that's how it pans out. But Fantasy Cruncher will give me the best lineup for my projections and group settings.
Wow.
All right. Do you want to get to rankings this week?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have a top 10 quarterbacks because we only have 8 quarterbacks. So we have Drew Brees, number 1. Yeah, Drew Brees, number 1. Minnesota secondary is terrible, so I like him a lot this week. Russell Wilson, number 2, against the Eagles. Again, the Eagles have a bad secondary. So we'll see. You generally, when teams play a second time, the scoring is higher. So last time Seattle and Philadelphia played was a slugfest. I think it'll be higher scoring this time. Number 3, Deshaun Watson. Number 4, Josh Allen. I think they're pretty close. And we have Carson Wentz, number 5, Tom Brady, 6, Ryan Tannehill, 7, Kirk Cousins, 8. Oh, we have a 9th. We have Taysom Hill, number 9. Michael, any thoughts on this?
Well, you got Carson Wentz too low. I can't believe you got him behind Josh Allen.
Josh Allen has the rushing yardage.
I know.
I'd like Carson Wentz a little bit this week. I'm definitely going to get to him on DraftKings. And this stands out here. Carson Wentz projected for 9.7% ownership, which is one of the lowest. The highest, highest
unbelievable.
The highest is Drew Brees, which is something you might expect, but I think Russell Wilson 9.2% is that stands out a lot to me.
Yeah.
So those are the two lowest owned, except for Tannehill, 8.6%. So I think every quarterback this week is viable. I would not stay away from any quarterback.
Why do you think Russell Wilson dropped so much? Is it just because he's too expensive to have, or just?
That offense has suffered a lot of injuries. His left tackle's out, Dwayne Brown. And if you look at his results recently, if you click, this gives a nice breakdown as well.
Right.
His past few games, he hasn't even reached 21 fantasy points. The last time he reached 21 fantasy points was week 9. So he's been struggling lately. So it's I could see why people are down on him. Only 9.2% ownership, but it's a good matchup though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go to running back. So Alvin Kamara, number 1. I don't think that's any surprise. Dalvin Cook, number 2, coming off injury, but it looks like he's okay. Number 3, Miles Sanders. We don't know if he's going to play yet, but if Sanders suits up, I like him quite a bit. Number 4, Devin Singletary. We discussed him earlier. I like him. He catches a lot of passes. If we look at this, a few weeks ago, he had 6 catches. So I think he's capable of this if the Bills are behind. Obviously, you don't want to look at week 16 against the Patriots. I think that's misleading. The Patriots have a phenomenal defense. So otherwise, he's done pretty well recently. So I think he's a decent option. Number 5, Derrick Henry. I'm kind of down on him. New England is. I think New England's going to stop him pretty well. As you can see, they're 7th against the run. Number 6, James White. Number 7, Boston Scott. He had a great game week 17. So if Miles Sanders is out, Boston Scott's out.
Definitely.
Number 8, Travis Homer. He catches a lot of passes, as I highlighted earlier, in DraftKings' PPR. Number 9, Carlos Hyde, and then number 10, Marshawn Lynch, bringing up the rear there. So any thoughts on this, Michael?
It's pretty good. Right on.
Okay. Mentioned before, Rex Burkhead is a like a swing for the fences guy you might want. A couple weeks ago, he had 18 fantasy points. The week before, 13. But his floor is he could do nothing for you. He may not even play. But he's very cheap and he has a ceiling because he plays with the Patriots. So I think he's someone to consider. All right, let's go to receivers. Michael Thomas, far and away the number 1 option, and everyone's going to have him almost in half of lineups, which is crazy. DeAndre Hopkins, number 2. Julian Edelman, look at this ownership, 43%. That is a lot of ownership for a guy who's not healthy. That is it. It's kind of like you want to play the ownership game. If Julian Edelman was projected as a 10% owned guy, I'd be like, okay, I'd give him a shot. But at 43% ownership, it's like I think you have to look elsewhere.
I agree.
Okay, number 4, John Brown. Houston secondary not very good, and Brown has high upside. I like him. Number 5, Tyler Lockett. It's just tough. He's very talented, but the Eagles double teamed him almost every play the last time they played him. So if they do that again, he's not going to do anything. Look at his stats very quickly. Against the Eagles, he had 4.8 fantasy points. They just took him out of the game. So I think they might do that again. Number 6, Stephon Diggs. I think the preferred option of the Minnesota receivers because he's healthy.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Number 7, DK Metcalf. Michael, you said that he might be.
DK Metcalf. Love him.
I love him this week as well. He's only 6,100. Only projected in 10.4% of lineups. I think that's a mistake. I think the public is not looking at that correctly. Number 8, Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley's I think a fine option. Nothing to be excited about though.
Right.
Number 9, Adam Thielen. As I said before, I mean, look at the ownership compared to Diggs, 18% compared to almost 24%. So people are concerned about Thielen. So that might be a way to get leverage. Maybe he's healthy. If he comes out 100%, he could have a good game. And then number 10, Greg Ward. If you notice, AJ Brown is gonna get the Stephon Gilmore treatment. So he's not in my top. He's not in my top 10, but Greg Ward is. He's Carson Wentz's favorite wide receiver right now. So any thoughts on this, Michael?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay. One guy I want to highlight as a sleeper option is N'Keal Harry. If you look at last week, he saw 7 targets, which I think is a big deal. That is the highest number of targets he's seen all year. And I think that Tom Brady might be trending toward the direction of trusting Harry more, especially with Julian Edelman banged up. So I think Harry at 4,100 is a good option this week.
That's a very good point.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's get to tight ends. Zach Ertz, we don't know if he's going to play, but if he does, he's the number 1 guy. And if he doesn't play, Dallas Goedert will be the number 1 guy. So right now it says Ertz is 0.1% owned. I think they're assuming that he's not going to play, but we'll see. I don't have no idea if he's going to play or not. Number 3, Jared Cook. I think he's a solid option this week. Only 4,900 compared to Ertz's 6,000. So he's a way to get cheaper. Number 4, Jacob Hollister. I think he's fine, but I'm more excited about Jonnu Smith. He's only 3,800. So New England is weakest against tight ends than receivers. So Jonnu Smith is a decent option, I think. Number 6, Kyle Rudolph. I know, Michael, I said you didn't like him, but I don't like him either. I have him projected for 6 points. So I don't like him that much either, but I think he's okay.
Well, it's not his fault. It's just you never know what Cousins is doing. It's hit or miss with Rudolph. Yeah. He went weeks with nothing and then he blew up for a few weeks. So it's not Rudolph, it's Cousins.
Yeah, he has a bunch of reds and greens here. He looks like a.
And he was doing well when Thielen was up, but now with Thielen back,
he did 15. Wow.
Yeah. When Thielen was injured, he had more targets, and then now that Thielen came back, he only had 3 targets, 2 targets.
Yeah, he doesn't go off when Thielen's there.
Yeah, so I only have him projected for 6 fantasy
Thielen
points.
that way too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I'm feeling that way. Kyle Rudolph. I only even have him projected for 6 points, so not crazy. Darren Fells also 6 points. Dawson Knox also 6 points. Then we go to Jordan Akins and Irv Smith at 5 points. There's not much depth at tight end this week at all. Once he gets past the first 5, so those are my top 10. Any thoughts, Michael?
I think we did a good job. Oh, well, you did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Did awesome. And thank you so much for showing how to use these tools.
Indeed. Yeah.
I mean, because this makes a big difference in the edge of playing. And you might figure something out by 1 point and win. So, yeah, this is I would have never thought that there were tools like this that existed that would make my job that much easier.
It's terrific. I think if you're only entering 1 or 2 lineups per week, I would not recommend this because it's not free. But if you're an avid DFS player and you like to enter in lots of contests each week, I'd very highly recommend this.
Excellent.
What is this called again?
It's called Fantasy Cruncher. It's just fantasycruncher.com. And they have it for every sport. Like they have golf. You can crunch golf lineups if you want. Wow. You can crunch tennis lineups. I think they have tennis lineups. Let me see. They have MMA, CFL, NASCAR, WNBA, soccer. God. Soccer's in beta apparently. I don't know why. But yeah, I have NBA. I have all these. I've used it for NHL as well. NBA has been my my best sport for DFS. So
cool tool.
Let's come down here further. All right. No, that is really awesome. That's exciting. Makes the game just a little bit funner. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anything else we want to get to?
Just Happy New Year to our millions and millions of fans out there on the World Wide Web.
Happy New Year's. Absolutely. And thank you for watching. And let's get into the playoffs and have some fun with it. Now, I want to know on DraftKings, is that $1 million a week that they're doing, or how does that work?
Yeah, the $1 million prizes for this week. So next week, there's going to be another $1 million contest. And then they're going to have one, I'm sure, for the conference championship games. And then last year, they had $1 million showdown for the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. So we're going to do $1 million pick every week, right?
Yeah, I'm down for that. Yeah,
absolutely. And
hopefully we win one of those times.
Yeah. So one more question. Do we want to do this Wednesday at 4:30 or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this week and the week before we had holidays on Wednesdays.
Exactly.
So I think going back to Wednesday 4:30 is I think that's a good move.
Okay. So Wednesday at 4:30. I hate doing this because it covers up Michael. I'm going to talk to them about moving this. But anyway, so Wednesday at 4:30. And anything else?
I'm good. Good luck this week if you're playing. And if you're new to this, you can always ask us any questions, and I'm always down to answer. But yeah, otherwise you can go to walterfootball.com for updated fantasy rankings. We're going to have them updated every day. We have NFL picks against the spread, 2020 mock draft, 2021 NFL mock draft, even with Trevor Lawrence on top. But yeah, that's about it. And let us know if you win anything on DFS on DraftKings this weekend. It'll be exciting to see who takes out the million and how they built their lineups.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to seeing you then.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.